Hey guys, it's Stacy. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be my August wrap-up and my Bout of Books 17 wrap-up. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it all together in one video. The first one I've got here is Edgar Allan Poe. This is a book of his short stories. I think I ended up reading about 11 or 12 of these stories in the first half of the month. I have a video where I completely gush over him. If you're interested in my thoughts on Poe, you can check that out. I'll leave it linked somewhere. I definitely will be continuing on with the rest of Poe's short stories. I love him and I want to read them all. I read 2 of the short stories in this book, Beyond the Woods. This is fairy tale retellings. I wasn't a huge fan of either of the stories that I read. I do plan on reading more of the stories in here because they're all from different authors and maybe I just wasn't digging their writing styles or that person in particular. So I'm going to continue on with this too, just not at the moment. Next, I read Sea Fever by Virginia Cantra. This is the second in the Children of the Sea series. I read the first book in July and absolutely adored it. Book 2 I did not love as much as I loved the first book, but it still was fast-paced and held my attention. This series is a paranormal romance about Selkies and I absolutely love everything to do about Selkies. It's hard to find stories written about Selkies. There isn't that many, not like there are with vampire stories and stuff like that. So I really appreciate when someone actually does write those stories. I want to write a story about a Selkie myself one day. I have it in here. I need to put it on paper. But anyway, I didn't love this as much as this one. But after I read this one, I read the next one in the series. It's called Sea Lord, and I think this one was my favorite. The 2 main characters were called Lucy and Con, and their stories were the most fascinating. This story is, again, very fast-paced, so if you like action and things happening and paranormal romance type books, I really recommend this series. It is fantastic. The next book is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I didn't actually read this book, I listened to it. I do own a copy of it, but I ended up listening to it instead. I listened to a large part of this book while I was painting this room, actually. It helped me get through my day of painting. And this book, I gotta say, is probably my favorite book of the year. I really loved this book, especially listening to this book. Neil Gaiman narrates it himself, and he did an amazing job at all the different characters. He had different voices for the different characters. This story is about a man named Richard Mayhew who lives in London, and one day he comes across this girl who's all beaten and bloody on the sidewalk, and he takes her home with him to basically take care of her. And then he gets sucked into the underworld of London and has to go on these crazy adventures with the girl. This story is so epic. It is on the scale of a never-ending story. It reminded me a lot of that, with like kind of going on a quest and having a mission and having just weird stuff going on, but it's completely believable and it sucks you into the story and you're rooting for the characters. This book also has probably my favorite villains of all time. There are a set of men in the story called Mr. Croup and Mr. Vandemar, and they are so evil and so wonderful all at the same time. I loved all of the scenes that had them in there, and I especially loved Neil Gaiman's voice for them. It also reminded me of A Princess Bride. You know how in the movie the grandfather is reading the story to the grandson, and then the grandson gets all into the story and he's like, no, don't stop reading, read more. That's how I felt with this book. I felt like, you know, Neil Gaiman was reading it to me and I was like, don't stop, don't stop. I can listen to another hour. It was so, so good. I read Stardust? I think it's Stardust by Neil Gaiman a good while ago, and I did like it, but I didn't like it as much as this. So if you haven't read Neil Gaiman, I would really suggest trying this book and seeing if you like it, because I thought it was fabulous. The next one is another book that I listened to. I was still working in this room when I finished Neverwhere, and I wanted to start another audiobook to help keep me going. So I picked Animal Farm because I think it was maybe 3 hours long, and I was actually able to finish it while I was still in the room. I read Animal Farm back when I was in high school. I remember liking it in high school, and I probably liked it even more now that I have a better appreciation for it and, you know, history and all of that stuff. I think it's a really important book that everybody should probably read, and I gave it 5 stars. Alright, now for part 2 of this video. These are the books that I read during the Bout of Books, the week of Bout of Books, which ended several days ago, and I haven't filmed this video yet, so The first one I read was How the Marquis Got His Coat Back. This is a short story from the Book of Neverwhere. It is 58 pages. It was fantastic because I was really missing the world that was in Neverwhere, and this puts you back into that world. Although most of the characters from that book are not in this book, I still really enjoyed this. So if you like Neverwhere, get this book too. Then I started The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. I saw that Brie Fauché was going to read this book, and it's a hunker, and I thought, well, I'll read it along with her because my husband's been wanting me to read this for a long time, so I picked it up. I was able to get 104 pages into this. So I actually got a little bit further in this than Brie got at the time, and I didn't want to go any further with it. I wanted her to catch up to where I was, so I went ahead and put this book down and got this book. This one is The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. I heard about this one on one of Chapter Stack's videos. It was in her like top 5 vampire books, and I really trust her opinion. I also found it for $2.97 at Books A Million, and I thought, can't beat that. Even if I don't like it, it's only $3. So I went ahead and picked it up. I got 100 pages into this one as well. Didn't get to finish it, but that's not for a lack of not liking it. I actually really do like this book, although I was kind of surprised. I looked at the back, and on the back of here it says it's for kids/juvenile, and I was kind of embarrassed by that. I won't lie, because yeah. This book is basically about a girl who goes to a party, gets drunk, passes out in a bathtub, and wakes up and everyone in the house has been murdered by vampires. That's the opening scene, and it really sucked me in. Good action like that, and when you have, you know, a major thing happening right in the very beginning, that's what gets me. So it's kind of funny too, when I was still in the bookstore, I wanted to start reading this because the kids were browsing and looking at their stuff. So I opened it up, and here's the first sentence. It says, Tanya woke lying in the bathtub. And I had to laugh to myself because I was like, I've been there, girl. This girl was definitely a party girl and did stuff that got her in a lot of trouble, and I can really relate to that because that was me. And the last book I finished for the Bout of Books 17 readathon was Good Omens, another Neil Gaiman book. This is getting kind of ridiculous. It's Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I listened to this one also. I didn't read it, although I have a copy. To summarize this one, it's basically about a demon and an angel trying to stop the apocalypse from happening because they have grown quite comfortable here on Earth and they like it the way it is. This was such an entertaining story. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I kept imagining while I was listening to this that if this were a movie, it would be spectacular. I think out of all the books I've ever read in my life, I would be most excited to see this one be made into a film. And that's really saying something. It was phenomenal. Alright guys, here is my stack. I think I did alright. I am quite proud of myself. Let's go ahead and say goodbye to August. Be gone with you, hot and humid and disgusting month, and we will say hello to September and all the amazingness that it brings. I've got some books I am really excited to read. I am totally looking forward to them, so I can't wait to tell you about them. And that's all I got for this video. I will see you guys soon. Bye.